Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today I watched, of course, like everyone else, Microsoft's Xbox E3 conference, and I thought I would talk a little bit about some of my impressions of things, and just kind of go through basically go through the list of everything they talked about, and just give kind of a quick blurb. I know everyone and their mother does videos like this, but I thought, what the hell, I've never done one before, and if you guys enjoy it, maybe I'll keep doing it. Maybe we'll do this again next year, who knows. But the short version is, I thought Microsoft put on a really good show. I was legitimately surprised by a lot of the things they said. I'm excited about a lot of the things they did. So let's start with number one. That intro they did was pretty cool. It used the Man of Steel theme, you know, from the 2013, 2014 movie. It was neat, but I kept wondering, like, is there going to be some sort of Superman thing behind this? I don't know. Halo 5 Guardians, of course, came up, which was no surprise. I've never been like the biggest Halo fan. I've never disliked it or anything. I've just never been super ecstatic about it. But it looked pretty neat, though. I questioned some of their gameplay choice because the actual gameplay, not like the cinematics and everything, the actual gameplay, while I'm sure it's fun, the specific clip they chose was kind of like mostly dudes walking, and I was for quite a while, and I was a little surprised by that. I'm sure the point was to kind of show you mechanics and everything, but I don't know, that it didn't captivate me as much as I would have hoped. But at the same time, I'm by no means like disinterested or anything. I'm certainly not saying it'll be bad, because I don't think that'll be the case, but I found just specifically that clip choice to be a little bit odd. Recore, that looks like a cool exclusive, obviously is what they said. Now, we don't know anything about the actual gameplay. I mean, all we saw was a cinematic cutscene that they put together. Conceptually, based on what little we saw, it looks like it could be neat. I'm always for Xbox One having more exclusives. I just, that's something I've been harping on for a long time, is that they need more exclusives. And credit where credit is due. They really seem to have quite a few lined up, and I like that. I think that that's a very smart move, and they're going in the right direction. So I'm very excited in general on that basis. This was probably the biggest bombshell of the entire event. Holy shit, Xbox 360 compatibility on the Xbox One. I am so excited about that. I can't even express it. Like, that is so awesome. Now, they didn't give us a whole lot of information on how that's going to work, but here's what we do know. It's going to be very similar to the way the 360 played original Xbox games. It's not like all of a sudden one update comes out and the console can play everything. It's going to be like periodic updates that's going to, give us certain games in chunks, and then you'll be able to play those games. But that concerns me a little, because obviously with the 360 they never finished that project. A lot of original Xbox games, I'd say about more than half, don't work just because they lost interest and stopped doing it. I would assume with the 360 having a substantially bigger library, it's probably going to be the same. Plus, they did mention one thing about how they technically need permission from developers to do that, which of course leaves the opportunity available to miss titles. Like, not that I'm saying they would do this, but let's just say, in fact, we know this was wrong, but let's say EA said, oh, you can't make our games compatible. We know that's wrong, because I think Mass Effect was the one they showed. But if they said nothing with EA could, be there, then none of EA's games could be on there. So, it just depends on the developer and the publisher and who owns the rights and if they are going to grant permission. My guess is they're going to focus on the more expected titles, the things that people have more of a demand for, and then they'll focus on things that were built similarly, ones that are easier to emulate on that basis. So that's my guess, and I think the project will eventually burn out. But it's nice to know they're doing it, and they're going to at least give us a bunch of those games and make them functional, which I really appreciate. It doesn't seem like the Xbox One is actually going to really enhance the games in any way, other than the ability to do things like take screenshots and upload footage of it and that kind of stuff. The additional little bonus features the Xbox One already does. But I don't think the games are going to play in a higher resolution or anything like that, which is all fine and good. I'm just thrilled that they're doing it at all. I would have hoped they would also include original Xbox backwards compatibility. I've been harping on that for a long time, for two reasons. One, it's x86 based. It would actually be a lot easier for them to emulate that. And the other, of course, was just that the original Xbox was an amazing game console, but I do not think that's ever going to happen. I asked, in person, I asked Major Nelson about that last year at PAX Prime 2014, and he denied that that was ever going to happen. But then he also denied 360 backwards compatibility would ever happen, so who knows? Maybe that will change. That would be really, really awesome. But thank you, Phil Spencer, the great, great, great man who announced that, who the guy who's running the Xbox division. See, this is why it's important to have a guy who actually knows his shit running a gaming division. The controller's getting updated. I think that's kind of neat. I can't recall a controller having that kind of change before. Like, basically, they're going to have the thumbsticks, you're going to be able to take those out and change them with other ones. There's going to be different sensitivity options with little switches. You can, I think there were some, extra triggers or something they're going to put in the back there, extra grips. Basically, they're going to make the controller super customizable, not only for use on the Xbox One, but also for PCs. Now, that makes sense more so for PCs, because various games have different, options like that. And I know that they're kind of supporting both platforms at the same time, so they want to have one device that really works with both. I'm in support of it, I guess. I'm not super excited about it. I've never really felt that the Xbox One controller really needed those kinds of changes, but I'll bring it on. There's no real negativity to that. Now, of course, they talked more about Fallout 4. It's not really surprising. It was a little surprising they showed as much as they did, since they had just talked about, Bethesda had just talked about Fallout 4 the night before. But nevertheless, I'm sure they realized, like, hey, Fallout 4 is like a huge-ass game, so we need to talk about it. So there was really nothing super exciting there, other than, obviously, Fallout 4. But what they did say that really just was like, was that Fallout 4 is going to support mods on Xbox One, which I was like, wow. But it's not as easy as that's going to sound. Based on what he said, it sounded more like if you have the PC version and you have the Xbox One version, you can make mods on the PC version and then like transfer them to the Xbox One version so that you can play them on your console. As a console gamer, I'm excited about the ability, I guess, to use mods, but having to have the PC version at the same time kind of defeats the purpose. So I hope they shed more light on that, because if you have to own both and you have to make the mods on the PC version to get them on the Xbox One, there isn't that much point in even having it on the Xbox One. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, it's cool that they're at least opening the door to that. Peter Moore, he came out and talked about EA Access. Two thoughts, of course. Peter Moore, that's the douchebag who killed Shenmue initially back in the day, by the way. Fuck you, Peter Moore. I guess it was kind of fitting that he had like the least interesting thing to say. He came out and he was basically, I know E3 is all about trying to get you excited to sell you products, but this dude wasn't getting you excited. He was just like selling you products. He's like, here's our games, and we're going to have this software you can buy or download or whatever. Like, fuck you, Peter Moore. Alright, even putting aside like my personal distaste for Peter Moore based on what he did to my favorite video game franchise of all time, what he was actually talking about really wasn't that exciting. I mean, EA Access is some new service they have whereby you can go online and like download their games through a subscription type of service or whatever. And the only real thing he said that was even moderately exciting was that at least this week on the Xbox One during E3, you can download their app and play any game in there for free, which is nice of them to do, but like that was it. That was the most exciting thing he talked about. He then talked about Garden Warfare 2, showed a little trailer for it and everything, and I didn't really, Modern Warfare 2, Garden Warfare, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2. He showed a trailer for that, which I didn't really care about. I didn't really care about the first one because I don't really like online-only games. Now I get it. They have their own press conference today, or they would have had by the time this video goes up. And so I get why EA didn't want to do too much, but nevertheless, it was kind of fitting that almost nobody in the crowd gave a shit about anything he was saying. Forza Motorsport 6, those Forza games are really well made, and they're nice that they're exclusives and all that, because exclusives, as much as a lot of people hate them, they're what make a console interesting. They're what make a platform interesting. If the platform has games that can't be acquired in other places, then it gives you a reason to have that particular platform. So that's what makes it interesting. So I'm always in favor of platforms getting exclusives. Like, as a console-only gamer, it sucks for me when a PC gets an exclusive platform game, or it's an exclusive game, but it is what it is. I understand it. It gives additional appeal to that platform. So whatever. But my point is, I'm glad they've got an exclusive. However, this one in particular doesn't really interest me that much. I've never, like, Forza is a well-made series. Like, those games are well-crafted, but they've just never intrigued me. I like my racing to be sillier. I like it to be Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I like it to be Mario Kart. I like it to be Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. I've never, too realistic of racing, just, I don't know, I've just never found any kind of appeal. But it seems like that game will be exciting to a lot of people. I think, personally, the two most exciting things about that were they actually had Henry Ford III there, and they had an actual, like, I don't even know what kind of car it is, because that's how little I know about cars, but there was some badass, like, blue car that was like, oh, wow, you actually brought one of those out here just to drop it down on, like, a crane and then, like, bring it back up. So that was neat. Dark Souls 3. This is, like, surprising and not really. Like, I don't think there was anyone who was too shocked that a Dark Souls 3 was happening. It's just, I don't think any of us, I mean, maybe you did. I didn't really expect to be seeing it at E3, but maybe that was foolish of me. I think it's going to be multi-plat. I don't think that's going to be an Xbox One exclusive. I don't recall them saying anything specific in regards to that game and its being on the Xbox One. It's just another game that will be available is what it seems like. I'm excited. I like I only played a little bit of the other Dark Souls because frankly I suck at them, but I respect them. I think they're cool games. Tom Clancy's The Division looks neat from what little we've seen of it. Frankly, I'm going to have to see more gameplay. I mean, what we basically got was like a cinematic and stuff with some gameplay in there. But yeah, it looks cool, and you know, props to Ubisoft for making something that's cool. Rainbow Six Siege. This was, I mean, like, you know, if you like all those Rainbow Six games and stuff, I mean, it looks good. It looks like it's well made. It looks cool. One thing that he mentioned that was actually interesting was that apparently when you buy it or pre-order it, I guess, whatever, it's going to include a little code that will give you a full 360 download of 2 of the previous Rainbow Six games, and you'll be able to play them on your Xbox One. And I like that conceptually, even though I don't really support digital games. But what I do like about that, and I should have mentioned this when we were talking about backwards compatibility, is that if more of these games from the 7th gen are just natively going to work on 8th gen hardware, at least the Xbox versions of things, and who knows, maybe Sony's scrambling right now trying to make sure that they have the same thing happening. But if that's the case, then we might see less of these like HD remasters that have been kind of plaguing us for the last year or two, because people are like, well, I can already get that game on the Xbox One. I don't really need to buy it again in HD, or, you know what I'm saying? So that could be good. So let's look at that as a positive. But as for the Siege itself, it looks cool, I guess. I'm gonna, again, it's one of those things where I'm gonna want to see more of it before I, you know, can commit to picking it up. Gigantic. It looks pretty cool. It's an Xbox One exclusive. Again, I support that. However, I don't really know what kind of game it is. See, I don't really like online games. I don't like multiplayer games for the most part. I like offline single-player experiences, to be brutally honest. I'm kind of old school that way. And that game kind of, my impression was that it was kind of like Smite. You know, it just kind of had this MMO RPG type of thing look to it. I could be dead wrong, you know, by the time it comes out. But if that's the case, if it's kind of like Smite or like World of Warcraft or something, I probably won't bother with it. But if it is more of an offline single-player thing, then I'm all open to giving it some kind of shot. They then showed like a slew of indie games that all looked pretty cool. Like they just had like, you know, short little blurbs about all of them. And I really like the indie scene. I'm glad that that's taken off. I'm glad Microsoft, you know, swapped their original position. At one point they were very anti-independent developers. And then after the whole original DRM debacle, they changed their minds immediately and they're like, we're going to start embracing them. I hope that at some point they do like an independent game collection, like a physical thing, because quite honestly, I don't have any interest in digital games. I'm very clear on that. And unfortunately, that does spread out to independent stuff. Like, I get it. The guys don't always have the money to put stuff on physical releases, and I'm sorry for that, but it's a deal breaker for me. I'm not going to support, you know, digital content. I just won't do it. Or digital games, I should say. But if they do like a physical collection, like with the best of or whatever, I would totally 100% be on board, because a lot of those games did look pretty neat. Tacoma. When this guy was initially talking about that game, it was funny to me because he said something like, we wanted to make a game about it's all in like one room, one location, and we wanted it to seem like, you know, an experience no one's had. You know, like nobody knows what it's like to be in that situation. Nobody knows what it's like to be in Tacoma. And I was like, why don't you ask someone who lives in Tacoma? Tacoma's a city in Washington. And then, of course, he meant like there's a space station. And I was like, oops. I just thought that was funny. But anyway, so this game is like a weird abandoned space station type of thing. It looked a little bit like BioShock in space without quite the intensity of that atmosphere. Now that could be dead wrong. We will see. Of course, we only got a little clip of it, but that was just what initially came into my head. Oh, BioShock in space. But, you know, who knows? Either way, it looks pretty cool. Then we saw a game called Ashen, which looked kind of neat. The vibe it gave me was like Eco Shadow of the Colossus type of thing. I thought it looked pretty cool. They then showed a game called Beyond Eyes, which was like this game with this female character kind of, she's surrounded by color and like there's whiteness beyond her, and every time she goes she kind of fills in little sections. It kind of had this Okami meets Rule of Rose, oddly enough, vibe. Like that, I'm just giving you first reactions. Like when I saw it, that's what I thought. Oh, this is Rule of Rose and Okami, like fused together. Will that be true? Who the hell knows? We'll find out when it comes out. Cuphead. Okay, of all the indie stuff they showed, that looked the most fun. I just thought, wow, I love the style of this, the 1930s look they were going for. Nailed it. I love 2D platformers. They looked like they nailed it. So I'm really excited about that one. I beg Microsoft, give that a physical release or include it in some sort of compilation as a physical release, because I would love to pick up that game. That looks really cool. After that, they announced Xbox Game Preview. I have like mixed feelings on this because I'm not really a supporter. Basically what it is, it's a program whereby you can sign up to download beta versions of games and try them out before their official release. PCs had that forever. I've never really liked that concept of checking out games before they're done, because I mean, we complain about games coming out and they're not ready. Like, why would you want to try it out before that? I get you might be excited about the game and want to check it out, whatever. I guess it makes more sense on the Xbox One because I know a lot of PC versions you have to actually pay for that. I'm not saying that's the case in every instance, of course, but this is free to anyone, I guess, so that's cool. I mean, on the basis of it's free, and if you want to check out the game early and you know full well it's a beta, they're just giving you that option and you can't knock them for that, so that's pretty cool. They talked about a game called Ion, and honestly, I don't even remember if they showed any of it. I think they didn't. They didn't show much of anything. They just kind of talked about it and showed some screen caps or something. Or they did, and I don't remember it, which means it didn't make much of an impression. So, forgive me. When the game's coming out, I'm sure we'll get a lot more footage and everything, and then I'll be able to have more of an assessment on what I think the game may or may not be. Rise of the Tomb Raider. This is one that a lot of people are both really excited about it and really fucking angry about, because, you know, it was at one time supposed to be a multi-plat thing, and then Microsoft gobbled it up as an Xbox One exclusive. They seem to be insisting that this will permanently be an Xbox One exclusive, based on the way they said it. They didn't say the phrase permanently, but they did make it clear it's Xbox One, it's Xbox One, and Xbox One exclusive. I don't know, man. Like, the actual game, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be pretty cool. But I'm still not sure that this won't eventually see a PC or PS4 release. In fact, a PC version I can almost guarantee will happen. It's just a matter of time. PS4, maybe. We'll have to see. I don't know. But it could be... basically, what I'm saying is it could be a timed exclusive. But I gotta give them credit. They gave me a little bit more confidence in thinking it probably will remain an exclusive. And I know a lot of people wanted this to be multi-plat, and I know people hate exclusives. We already talked about that. But exclusives are what make consoles interesting. I don't like the way that Microsoft went about getting this particular game as an exclusive, but at the end of the day, it is an exclusive, so you might as well embrace it as one, assuming it stays an exclusive. Okay, the Rare Replay. This might have been the second most exciting thing that they announced, as far as I'm concerned. Rare Replay, at first they did this this clip of like all these banners of all these games Rare has made, like Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Perfect Dark, a lot of games. And I was like, they were setting it up like, oh, we're just showing you our history, and here's our latest. And they kind of did, in a sense. They're like, oh, by the way, all these great games we just talked about, you can have all of them, a total of 30 games, and they're going to have it on one physical disc for 30 bucks. I am so excited. I think that's awesome. It seemed to include all the best ones, except notably, it looks like GoldenEye won't be on there, which is not really that surprising. It's sad, but I guess they never really owned that one, so it's understandable. But the idea, the Banjo-Kazooie games, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Perfect Dark, they're all going to be on this one HD remastered disc, which I know it's ironic because we were just harping on the negativities of, HD remasters and re-releases and stuff, but in this case I think it's pretty warranted because a lot of those games already had digital re-releases on, I believe it was on the Xbox 360, but they were never physical, so I couldn't really enjoy them. But now, on the Xbox One with a physical release, sign me up! And for 30 bucks, that is a hell of a fucking deal, so I'm really excited about that. And I guess that comes out in August, that's not even that far away. Rare was not done though, they then talked about Sea of Thieves. Now, we got to see a lot of gameplay of this. It looked beautiful. It looked exactly like a Rare game. You know, like classic Rare. And I remember the whole time I'm thinking, holy shit. You know, combine this with the Rare replay, I'm thinking, Rare's back! Microsoft actually brought Rare back. Because, you know, Rare was great under the Nintendo era, and then when they've been working with Microsoft, they've mostly sucked. Like, they had that original Conker's Bad Fur Day remake for the original Xbox, grabbed by the Ghoulies, and then they just kind of did a lot of just filler. You know, the Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, the Viva Pinata games, and eventually they were all the way down to Connect Sports Rivals, which I think is the only other game they made for the Xbox One. So Rare just seemed like they were gone. And this game just looked like, holy shit, you brought Rare back, and visually, and I'm excited about that. However, I have to admit that I don't know what that game is. Like, it looks based, alright, so all the characters had like little green titles above them, which of course are user IDs, which implies that this is like an MMO type of thing, or it's at least an online type of game. You guys know me, I already said it in this video, I'm not really much for online gaming, I just prefer offline stuff. So I don't know if I'll be checking out that game in particular, but visually it looked amazing. I was very impressed by that and the vibe that it gave me. So I hope that the game has some sort of single-player campaign type of thing. But I guess we'll find out when it comes out. Fable Legends. Now, alright, this game visually was breathtaking. I didn't know what it was initially. I was just like, wow, this looks really cool. What is this? And then eventually they're like, Fable Legends. And I was watching it with my girlfriend, and the first thing, like, we're 5 seconds into this, she's like, I need this in my life. Like, that's just, it was very impressive looking. It just had the right atmosphere, it had everything going for it. So, to find out it was Fable Legends, I was like, oh, that's cool. Now, I've never really played much of the Fable stuff. I respect it, it's certainly, you know, a well-made series and everything, but it's never been anything I was super excited about. But we'll see with this one. Maybe I will give this one a brand new, legitimate shot. We'll find out. But one thing they announced for it that was kind of cool is that the game is going to be cooperative between PC and Xbox One, in the sense that if you play it on your PC, your progress will automatically be transferred to your Xbox One version, and I guess vice versa. So you can play it both ways, and your accounts or your character, etc., will constantly be synced up. So that's kind of neat if you want to play cross-platform. Personally, I would have no use for that, but if you do, that they're offering you that, which is definitely cool. So as a lot of you might know, Microsoft recently cut a deal with Facebook, who owns Oculus Rift, and they're going to be working together. So I guess all Oculus Rift units they announced are going to be shipping with Xbox One controllers. That's gotta hurt Sony, because I don't know how Sony's VR thing, or if Nintendo even does one, I don't know how the hell they're going to compete with that. I mean, you got Facebook and Microsoft and Oculus Rift all working in one thing. I mean, that's going to be, if VR is of any kind of success, that's going to be the successful one, because it's just, there's too much brand recognition in that. There's too much ability to advertise there. There's no, I mean, I think if Nintendo and Sony try anything, I know Sony will, I can't imagine that working for them. We'll see. I mean, I haven't seen Sony's press conference yet. Who knows what they've got in store, but from a marketing standpoint, I don't know how you could overcome that. But anyway, the point is, that's going to be coming out. They also announced a little bonus feature to that. Apparently, you can sync up your Oculus Rift, I guess, with your Xbox One, which I guess makes sense, and you'll be able to play Xbox One games on the Oculus Rift screen. I'm sure that there will be games that take advantage of that and utilize that correctly. It's almost like they're treating Oculus Rift like it's going to be like an accessory for the Xbox One, but it's also going to be its own standalone platform at the same time. That's what it's kind of coming off like, which is neat. So you'll probably be able to play games that weren't natively supported on it, like let's say, for example, like Halo Master Chief Collection. You'll probably be able to play that on Oculus Rift, but it probably won't take massive advantage of it. Or maybe that one will, because they'll update the hell out of it. But yeah, there'll be games that just kind of use it, and there'll be games that seem like they're built for it. That's just my guess on that one. Because really, all they told us is that Xbox One games will work on the Oculus Rift. So I'm just guessing how they're going to integrate that. But overall, if you get an Oculus Rift, that's definitely a good bonus feature. Minecraft and the HoloLens. So, all right. Here's my thoughts on this. Technically, it's massively impressive. It is really cool to see, like, fucking holograms! Holy shit! And I'm sure there are all sorts of awesome gaming experiences that could await someone who wants to do that. But I gotta be honest, like, I don't know if I would ever use it. Like, I don't know if I would ever really want to play a game that way. Like, standing there and just being like, yes, let's do this. Like, I don't know if I would want to do that. I mean, I didn't even fucking like the Wiimote, you know? Now, granted, the technology is very different, but you get my point. I just don't like waving my arm around to play a video game. But yeah, visually, the technology blows me away. It is very, 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 very impressive. And I don't doubt they could do some cool things. All I'm saying is, until I actually try playing with it, I don't know if I'm going to really enjoy playing a video game that way. Maybe I will. Maybe I will play this and be like, I don't know how I lived without this. Who knows? Gears of War Ultimate Edition. I think we all kind of saw this one coming. This is like an HD remaster of Gears of War, which is a little odd for a couple of reasons. First is that this is one of the last things they talked about, and one of the first things we talked about, again, was backwards compatibility. So your Xbox One will already be able to play Gears of War, so I don't know how necessary this is. However, it will have certain advantages. Of course, the 360 version does not. It will be running at native 1080p. It will run at 60 frames per second. It will have remastered online multiplayer, and certainly will, you know, make a shot in the arm to the Gears of War community that I'm sure that they would really like to have. So it's neat on that basis. But the other reason it's kind of weird is that they didn't really acknowledge if the other Gears of War games are included. It seemed like only Gears of War 1 was getting that treatment, not necessarily Gears of War 2, 3, or perhaps Judgment, which I don't think people would care if Judgment was in there or not. But that seemed odd to me, because I thought they were going to go kind of the Halo Master Chief Collection route with this, except hopefully not, you know, broken, but by including all the games together. But they didn't say yes or no to that. It just kind of sounded like it was just going to be the first game. Gears of War 4. So they showed footage of this, and that really caught my interest. Like, that was exciting gameplay to watch. I enjoyed it, and I think that they did right with that, what they did wrong with the Halo 5 gameplay. Because, like I said, Halo, I mean, basically, when you think about it, both games is just people walking. But they chose a clip in Gears 4 that had enough interactivity that you're like, oh shit, what's that? You know, like, oh, sense of tension. Whereas Halo 5's like gameplay that they chose, I'm not saying the game is like that, I'm just saying the clip they chose didn't really have that. It just kind of seemed like people walking. And we already talked about that, but my point is, Gears of War 4 looked intriguing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that. And finally, they brought out Phil Spencer again, who is, of course, the great savior of the Xbox, who came out and he just kind of wrapped things up, but he gave us a couple of more clues as to stuff that was coming up, and he's like, oh, we got more games coming up, we've only shown you a fraction of this, we have many new exciting ideas, which is, of course, you know, all PR talk, which I'm sure is true. He mentioned a couple of them. He was like, you know, Crackdown and Quantum Break and some other stuff that's coming up that he's going to show off at, I believe, Gamescom and other things. The only other thing he mentioned in that it's not really letting slip because we've all kind of known about it, but I guess he made it official, was that he mentioned that the Xbox One will be getting a big OS update. And my guess is, because he plugged Windows 10, and this is what we've all speculated about this forever, even since the Xbox One first came out. You know? And we all said we hated the dashboard, that they were inevitably going to upgrade it to seem more like their next OS, which now we know to be Windows 10. And I'm sure that's exactly what's happening, is that the Xbox One will get an update to appear less like Windows 8 and more like Windows 10, which I will be thrilled by because I fucking hate Windows 8. Windows 10, of course, we don't actually, at least I personally don't know what the layout is. I know it's improved. But you get my point. That's coming. We have that to look forward to. So that kind of wraps up everything from the Xbox press conference from E3 2015. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing my little tidbits on it. I'm thinking about doing this for Nintendo and Sony as well. Let me know, would you guys like to see that? And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all later.